Hi, it's Tuesday, September 10th, and we're tracking Hurricane Francine in the Gulf of Mexico. The system is intensified now to reach hurricane intensity, and it's forecast to continue intensifying all the way pretty much through landfall tomorrow. Right now, expecting it sometime Wednesday afternoon along the Louisiana coastline. Now, as we look at the storm as the sun sets, we see a pretty healthy structure overall. We can see lots of deep convection or deep convective bursts taking place on the north side of the center, and these are wrapping around in a cyclonic or counterclockwise fashion around the center of circulation. And these have been continuing to move around in this pattern throughout the day today as the system has continued to build its eye and eye wall structure. And we just got a recon plane, in fact, two recon planes in there just a few minutes ago when they just flew, both of them, through the eastern side of the storm, and they both found winds supportive of hurricane intensity, and the central pressure has now dropped to about 982 millibars. That's down roughly about 6 millibars from earlier this afternoon, and we'll see if it lowered. I wonder if we have some more data. We don't have any more data in yet. They'll report this after the videos come out. But it looks like we are getting more pressure falls. The extrapolated pressure not at the exact center on this NOAA plane pass from the south is already 981.7. That's not in the center. So looks like the pressure has fallen. Maybe it's down to 981, 980 millibars. But the main important thing is the pressure is falling, and as a result, the winds will begin to increase, and this intensification is forecast to continue pretty much through landfall. If we look at the upper level environment as the system moves further northeast, we see a continued favorable environment for this intensification. We've got a very healthy polar outflow channel, aided in part thanks to a jet streak that's taking place right now over eastern Texas and Louisiana. We've also got some equatorward outflow as a result of the upper high that the system is draped underneath. Now, as we go towards landfall, wind shear will be increasing because we do have an upper trough. It's hard to see on here, but it is here, and this will be bringing a stronger fetch of westerly shear towards our storm. And this will do two things. It will begin to impact the storm in a negative way, and eventually will stop the system from intensifying, and if it's over water long enough, it will begin to weaken. What it'll also do is it will push everything pretty much to the eastern side of our storm. So when it comes into Louisiana, this is going to be a fairly lopsided storm. And right now we're expecting landfall somewhere in the central Louisiana coastline. And while this is far away from areas like the Mississippi River Delta in Mississippi, Alabama, and even the western Florida Panhandle, with all that convection pushed off towards the east, this is going to be a very fat and nasty side of the storm once it does come through. Alongside that, the way the storm is coming into this region, it may come inland and a little bit east, closer to these areas further east in Mississippi and Alabama before turning north once it goes up the Mississippi River Valley. Now, overall, the models have upticked in the intensity that we were talking about a couple of days ago when I made my last video. We talked about how then, depending on how the system was east of Mexico, that would determine how much intensification we likely would see before landfall in Louisiana. As a result, we're seeing the system now become a hurricane here, and we've now upticked the landfall intensity up a category. So we were talking about tropical storm or high-end Cat or low-end Cat 1. Now we're looking at high-end Cat 1, maybe low-end Cat 2 coming in here to southern Louisiana. And this is forecast to be a significant event for rainfall and surge. Of course, we'll also have some additional wind impacts, primarily kept to coastal areas of southern Louisiana, as once it comes ashore, the wind shear will likely disrupt the system quite a bit, and it will likely rapidly weaken. But the rainfall's forecast to still be very significant. You can see here on the rainfall forecast from the Weather Prediction Center, we have a wide region of 4 to 6 inches of rain expected across much of southeastern Louisiana, and more specifically where the storm tracks, we could have a wide area of 6 to 8 inches of rain, potentially locally higher totals, getting towards a foot of rainfall in some areas, and that could easily lead to a lot of flooding issues. This is an issue alone because you're getting this rainfall in a short period of time, but also over the past week, we've gotten quite a bit of heavy rainfall already in this area. We had a drape frontal boundary doing that. And as a result, the flash flood risk is fairly high in this scenario. You can see the Weather Prediction Center has issued a moderate risk of flash flooding here in southeastern Louisiana and southern Mississippi as our storm comes in. And this is telling you that the odds of flash flooding here are significantly raised, and it's certainly something to pay attention to. And if you are put under a flash flood warning from your local National Weather Service office, make sure you take the proper action when those are issued. Now, I don't want to underplay the risk further north as well. There is some much needed rain coming for areas further north. I know we do have a drought up here getting towards the Ohio Valley, but getting all this rain in a short period of time can lead to issues, and especially when you're coming out of a drought. And this has led to as well, not a moderate risk as of right now, but a slight risk, so an elevated risk of flash flooding all the way into southern Illinois, southeastern Missouri, and western Kentucky as the system pushes north. And the system will be stalling out here, so we could get several more days of rainfall on top of this forecast that what this currently shows. And like I said, with areas in Mississippi and Louisiana, if you're put under a flash flood warning, make sure you're taking the proper action as those warnings are issued for a reason. Now, touching more on the coastal impacts, as this will be a significant coastal storm as well. Once it comes into the coast, we're going to be seeing, like I said, winds probably getting towards Category 2 force, so they could be near 100 miles per hour. And that has led to a hurricane warning being issued for a large portion of southern and southeastern Louisiana, with this entire red area that extends quite a bit far inland being a hurricane warning. All areas in blue here are a tropical storm warning, and this is also highlighting that weighted eastern side that I brought up here. Even though here in Alabama and western Florida, we're not anywhere near the landfall spot, we're still in a tropical storm warning because that eastern side is going to be so weighted and so nasty because of that westerly shear. So we have a warning out there, and we also have a tropical storm watch further into southern Mississippi, as the storm could bring some tropical storm force winds there as it continues pushing in and weakening. And we also, I should mention, have a hurricane watch for Lake Pontchartrain, and I believe this does include New Orleans as well. If not, New Orleans is just outside of it, but you could also be experiencing some hurricane force winds. And it all depends exactly on where the storm tracks. There is still a little bit of wiggle room. We've had models flip-flopping all over the place. This time yesterday, they were all going into southwestern Louisiana. Now they're going into southeastern Louisiana. And could it shift more? Absolutely, as this storm is still wobbling, and those small wobbles with the hurricane are very difficult to predict, even a day out or less from landfall. And you can see at this range in this wide area from the hurricane center, these are the general envelope or the general range of where the system could make landfall. And winds is not going to be the only issue that we have. We'll also have a significant storm surge event. An unfortunate aspect of this part of the coast is that it's very susceptible to storm surge. And you can see that even though we're not getting the system to come in, like what some of the worst case scenario models had showed, a major hurricane, this is still very significant. 5 to 10 feet of surge is still very significant. And if you're in any evacuation orders along this part of the coast, you need to heed them. They're issued for good reason, and you don't want to take any chances with storm surge. You still have time tonight to take action on those. We're not expecting tropical storm conditions to really arrive until tomorrow morning, although they could arrive at the earliest over the overnight time hours. But you can see here along most of the Louisiana coast, the most likely arrival of tropical storm force winds is tomorrow morning. And this is also a good note for preparations. If you're preparing here along this part of the coast, make sure your preparations are done tonight, as tomorrow morning conditions will be getting more difficult to prepare in as the hurricane approaches the coastline. And areas further northeast, you will have a little bit more time to prepare. And of course, the good news is as it comes in, it will be rapidly weakening. But here, especially in southwestern Mississippi and this little portion of southeastern Louisiana, you may have a little bit more time tomorrow morning to prepare, but with tropical storm force winds coming in, that could lead to some power outages and certainly some damage as the system comes in. So make sure you're getting those preparations done at latest by tomorrow morning. If you want to be fully safe, make sure they're done by tonight. That's all that I've got for today. I'll try to have another video out tomorrow before Francine makes landfall. Stay safe in Louisiana as the storm comes through. And that's all for now. Thanks for watching.